I want to share with you what renewal's philosophy is, because that's really what guides us in everything that we do. Renewal, it's funny, when renewal first was started, the hospitals didn't want to work with us. Hospitals said, something doesn't sound right. I mean, an organization that's, people are donating kidneys altruistically, it just doesn't make sense. And so it took a long time for us, and really the persistence of Mendy and of others at Renewal, of pushing through and getting the hospitals on board to the point where we are today, where hospitals actually chase after us and they ask us, can we work with you? And when the hospital asks us that, we tell them it's very simple. We have two criteria in order to work with us. Criteria number one, you have to have a vast amount of experience doing transplants. If we're sending a donor and a recipient to your center, we need to know that you know what you're doing. But criteria number two, which is perhaps even more important, is that you have to share the same philosophy as we do. And that is that donors need to be treated as the heroes that they are. That means that the proverbial red carpet needs to be rolled out for these donors. It's unacceptable, really it's unacceptable for anybody to have to wait hours and hours and hours for blood tests and for this test and for that test. But it's extra unacceptable for a kidney donor to have to do that. They're going into the hospital altruistically to give of themselves, a healthy person. We've got to do whatever we can. So I can't say that there's no waiting time. It is a hospital in the United States, so there is some waiting time for sure. But they do expedite the process for kidney donors, the hospitals that we work with. And that's something that's very important to us, is that the donors recognize that Renewal is there to hold their hand every step of the way. They're not doing this by themselves. They become part of our family, and we are there with them, whether it's on the day of testing, as Gary mentioned, or it's during the transplant. We sit there with me, I don't go anywhere close to the operating room. Nobody has to worry. I get squeamish at that kind of stuff. But we're there in the waiting room with the family, talking to them, and going through as the day unfolds. And we're there with them beyond their transplant. And so we are with the donors and with the recipients, getting to know them, and they are a part of our family. And that's something that's very, very important to us. I want to open it up to questions if anybody wants to know anything about kidney donation. I know AJ mentioned before what the ages are, that the oldest donor we've ever had was 77 at the time of donation. Baruch Hashem, she is doing well. And as AJ mentioned, she is a child survivor, which to me, if ever there was a person in the history of the world that had a right to say, you know, let somebody else do something for this world, it would be a survivor. And yet, at 77 years young, Ruth is her name. Ruth decided, no, I still got a lot left to give, and she donated her kidney. We actually have this week, in Mirat Hashem, Bezras Hashem, we have a 73-year-old that's scheduled to donate. So age is very much just a number when it comes to kidney donation. Anybody have a question who wants to start us off? Yes? Very good question. What is the healing process like? So you heard a little bit from Gary, but one thing I want to caution, while it's great to speak to donors, you do have to keep in mind, and Gary alluded to this, every donor's experience is different. And therefore you cannot base it on any one particular donor, and therefore we go with averages. The average experience for a donor is that a donor is in the hospital for about 2 days, sometimes 3 days. And as Gary mentioned, there definitely is pain those first couple days. The doctors will prescribe pain medication after they leave the hospital. I'd say the majority of our donors never end up filling that prescription, though some definitely do. The typical recovery is about 2 to 3 weeks out of work. That's what we tell people to expect. And it depends on what a person's job is. If a person can work from their cell phone in their sweatpants on the couch, obviously they can get back a little bit quicker than if a person's doing heavy lifting construction work. It takes a bit longer. But on average, it's about 2 to 3 weeks, and as AJ mentioned, Renewal is there to help cover loss of wages for any donors during that period. Well, within reason. I mean, Renewal's budget is what it is. If Warren Buffett decided to donate a kidney, I don't know that we could help cover loss of wages there. But within reason, Renewal is definitely it. It's not just a matter of willing to cover loss of wages. Renewal wants to, because there's so many financial donors out there that say, I wish I could donate a kidney, but I can't. And so I give money instead. And that's my way of being mishtatef, of being a part in the mitzvah. And so when the donors are sometimes hesitant to take money, we say, don't be hesitant. This is why the financial donors are doing it. They want to be a part of this. Let them be a part of it by sharing and accepting the money that they're giving. So that's typically what the recovery is like, 2 to 3 weeks out of work. What else?
What is the youngest?
The youngest age that to donate a kidney in the United States legally is 18 years old. However, I will tell you, and I mean no disrespect to any teenagers that are here today, Renewal's policy is that we don't feel that 18, 19, 20 is really the right age to make this kind of a life decision. And so Renewal doesn't start till 21, and even at 21 we're very hesitant to take from 21-year-olds. We prefer people to be a little bit older, a little bit more settled in life when making this kind of a life decision. This is not something, Renewal's philosophy is we don't guilt anybody into doing this. We don't believe that this is the right thing for every single person. We believe this is the right thing for many people out there that simply don't know it yet. They haven't been educated about what it entails. And that's what we try and do and raise awareness and educate the population. So we do believe there are many more people out there for whom it is the right thing, but we also believe very firmly that it is not the right thing for a lot of people. And the truth is, we turn away a lot of donors, a lot of potential donors. People call us up and they want to donate, and we start to talk with them over the phone and start having a conversation, and we realize, you know what, I don't think this is the right thing for them. At their stage in life, at their situation, it's not the proper thing. And we turn them away and we say, I don't think this is the right thing right now. Maybe come back to us 5 years from now. Let's figure it out. Because we don't need to have a donor for whom they're going to regret later on doing something like this. It's not something that is... Again, we believe very much in a zero-pressure approach. And in fact, as the donors here will tell you, Renewal gives many opportunities throughout the process to say, you sure you want to do this? You could back out at any point. Until the anesthesia sets in. You could back out at any point, and Renewal makes sure to let you know that you have every opportunity to back out. And the hospitals will make something up and tell the recipient that there is a medical thing that they're no longer eligible, whatever the case is. And that's why we're very strict that the donors and recipients shouldn't meet really beforehand, because we want the donor to not feel any pressure in doing this. So 18, 19, 20, not really the right mindset to be able to donate. Even 21, we've had a few 21-year-olds. Those are really the ones who call us when they're 18, and then 19, and then 20, and say, I want to do this. By 21, we just want to get them off our hands. So we really prefer that they be a little bit more established in life, whatever age that may be. But on the other end, the sky's the limit. Age really is very much just a number. Yeah?
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Please.
Okay, my first question is, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but, okay, before a person gets to that stage where they would need a kidney transplant, they're obviously at renal failure or close to that, whatever, they've had dialysis. What, as far as you understand, what causes this to happen to begin with, where the person ends up with renal failure and having to need a transplant?
So I want to give a disclaimer. I am about as far away from a medical professional as anybody could possibly get. I decided to go for smicha instead of medical school, and I cannot answer anything with any authoritative answers. But what I will tell you is that people have a lot of different things that cause kidney failure. Some of it is genetics, some of it is environmental. A lot of it has to do with the genetic predisposition, whether they're genetically predisposed to something like PKD, which is a genetic disorder that attacks the kidneys, or very often the number one cause of kidney failure in the United States is actually diabetes and high blood pressure. And so diabetes, high blood pressure definitely contributes because that taxes the kidneys. And the kidneys start to wear down and ultimately, unfortunately, in many cases begin to fail. Once a kidney fails, a person needs to either start dialysis or they need a kidney transplant. Even before that stage of kidney failure, the hospitals, the doctors don't let a person get to kidney failure. They let them get to just before kidney failure, where the numbers are pretty low and pretty bad, and they need to go on dialysis. And as I think Judge Schulman mentioned before, the survival rate on dialysis, unfortunately, is not good. For many, many people, dialysis is really a death sentence. After 5 years, just about 28% of people survive 5 years on dialysis. Talk about 10 years, it's about 10% of people that survive 10 years on dialysis. Dialysis is not by any means a cure for kidney failure. So a transplant, though, thank God, the success rates, Baruch Hashem, are so phenomenally good. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help that they should continue to be wonderful, wonderful successes.
Okay, my next question.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have two more. I have time.
We're going to close it after these questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question is, okay, so the kidney transplants are taken from either a person that's alive, obviously, or from somebody that has passed away, has died.
Yeah.
Do you have any statistics as to how many?
So yeah, it's a great question. So renewal works with. Yeah, sorry, thank you. The question is that the question is, what is the difference between a kidney that is donated from a deceased donor versus a kidney that is donated from a living donor? And the statistics are pretty clear on this. A kidney that is received from a living donor is a much healthier option. The kidney on average lasts about double the amount of time. And not only that, but the kidney, one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen, I'm just going to take another 2 minutes because I think it's Kadai. I was in a hospital with a patient for transplant, obviously, and I was sitting in the waiting room with the husband, and we went into the recovery room, which for anybody who's familiar is a room where after surgery, there's a lot of beds in there, and people go there before they go to their private room. And I'm standing there with the husband. He wants to go in and see his wife, who just donated her kidney. And I tell him, we'll go in, but just keep in mind she's exhausted. She'll say hi, and then she's going to go to sleep. So we'll spend 2 minutes by her bed, and then we'll go back out, and we'll come back in an hour. So he says, no problem. We walk in, and he says hi to his wife. She sees he's okay. He sees she's okay. Baruch Hashem, everything is wonderful. And he's ready to leave, and I say, do me a favor, just come with me for a second. He says, where are we going? I said, please, just come with me. I take him 3 beds down, and I say, I don't mean to be gross, but do me a favor. Look, the patient was sleeping in bed. I said, look over the side of the bed and tell me what you see. He looks over the side of the bed and he says, well, I see a catheter bag. I said, and what do you see in that catheter bag? And again, I apologize for being a little bit gross, but he said, I see urine. That catheter bag was filled with urine. I said, that's your wife's kidney at work. I said, this patient couldn't produce that amount of urine in days. And now here she is 2 hours after surgery, and the bag is full. I said, next time you say the bracha of Asher Yatzar after you leave the bathroom, this is what I want you to remember, that catheter bag, because that's the bracha of what a kidney transplant is all about, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in an amazing, amazing way, that the kidney works literally within seconds of being attached on the table, on the operating table. Within 2 seconds, they attach it, it turns pink, and it starts to produce urine right then and there, which is remarkable. Gary wanted to add something to that.
I just want to add something, and I'm going to wrap you up.
Yes.
It's post time already. But I just want to say a couple of things. I know you were volunteered already. But Chanabela and Aviva and AJ, wherever you are, we're all going to stick around a little bit. So if anybody has any questions, seriously, any questions at all of interest, and if you don't want to raise the questions now, I can speak for myself, but I think for everybody as well, call us up. Any questions you want to discuss, any step in the process, we are very happy. I need to say a special thank you to Josh because he was the one who sat with my wife while I was having my kidney taken out.
Thank you. So anybody who wants to get tested, if anybody wants to get tested right here today, it's a simple swab of the cheek to get tested, but I do want to caution you that when getting tested, it's not like bone marrow donation. When it comes to bone marrow, the organizations that do bone marrow donation want the entire world to get swabbed. The reason being, because the odds of matching are so close to impossible. When it comes to kidney donation, the way it works is that if you want to donate your kidney, there's almost a 100% chance that you will match somebody on our list. So if you want to get swabbed, by all means get swabbed. Don't do it just for the sake of doing it. But if you think this may be something you want to do, then I encourage you to get swabbed. It is not a commitment by getting swabbed. You're not signing off that you're giving a kidney. But I would say don't do it just for the sake of doing it. Do it if it's something you want to do. There's a table in the back where you can either make financial donations or you can get swabbed. I want to thank everybody very much for coming. And thank you to the Shulman and to the Ambrose families for all of their support.